Hi, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining today. My name is Mike McCluskey, and I'm the head of partnerships here at FinTech Sandbox. Today we're going to be talking about insurance for everyone, anywhere, with our incredible panelists, Tatyana and Snejina. I've prepared some questions to get the conversation started, and then we'll switch it over to Q&A from the audience. And just as a quick reminder, to submit your questions, please put them up in the Q&A box in the top right-hand corner. There's also a chat box, so please feel free to jump in and share any insights or comments you may have. To give some context on our conversation today, as you all know, insurance touches almost all aspects of our lives, from our health, our homes, our cars, to protecting us financially with life and disability insurance. Companies like John Hancock and MassMutual, who you heard from this week, have really pioneered and continue to pioneer the insurance industry as we know it today. But the insurance industry is on the edge of profound change. The availability of new data sets and evolving customer demands for both speed and choice are leading the way for the adoption of new technologies such as artificial intelligence, sensor technology and the Internet of Things, and new types of digital service models that are really all converging and opening up new ways of doing business, and also how we think about insurance itself. Startups like Insurify have really streamlined the insurance buying process and customer experience, while John Hancock has done a phenomenal job innovating new solutions and also partnering with startups. So really the purpose of our conversation today is to hear from two exceptional leaders in the insurance space, get their thoughts on where they think the industry might be headed, and talk about how we can continue to move towards an industry that is truly accessible to anyone, anywhere. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Tatyana and Snejina, and it would be great if you both could introduce yourselves and maybe share a little bit about how your businesses fit into the FinTech ecosystem. So, Tatyana?
Sure. Hi, Mike, and thank you. Thank you for this introduction. Good afternoon. My name is Tatyana Zakrevskaya, and thank you so much for having me on the panel today. I'm part of corporate innovation team for Manulife, an international financial services group that operates as John Hancock in the United States. So our mission as a company, as a global company, what really gets us out of bed every morning is to make decisions easier and lives better for our consumers and customers. We serve over 10 million customers in the US alone with a broad range of financial products spanning life insurance, investments, 401k, advice, and educational savings. And we also operate in Canada and Asia across 13 territories. So really an opportunity to make a significant impact and a difference for our customers. As part of the innovation team, I focus on ecosystem development, startup partnering, and investing. I'm also on the advisory board for Mass Challenge FinTech, and I'm also a member of FinTech Working Group for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Delighted to be here and share my perspective with you.
Thanks, Tatyana. Snejina?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Mike, for the opportunity to be with everyone today. My name is Snejina Zacharia. I'm the founder and CEO of Insurify. Insurify is an online virtual insurance platform, and our goal is to reinvent insurance distribution as we know it. We leverage artificial intelligence and natural language processing to be able to optimize the customer experience and recreate the way people search, compare, and buy insurance in one place. And our goal is to empower the end consumer to make the best decisions about their insurance and their coverage by giving them smart recommendations and providing them with the best user experience.
Great, thanks, Snejina. So really appreciate you both sharing your backgrounds with me. I'd like to go a little bit deeper and maybe hear about your journey and how you got to this point. And talk a little bit about some of the challenges you're hoping to address. So maybe Snejina, if you don't mind starting.
So I started the company while I was at MIT, finishing my MBA there. And the company, the way we started is that I had a minor accident, which caused a spike in my insurance premium. So for the first time, I was very much motivated to find ways to search and find savings on my insurance premium. The process is highly underwhelming. 3.5 hours going from site to site, talking with different agents, only to find out that all I had to do was double or triple my deductible and stay with the same carrier. So the challenges that we are trying to address at Insurify is really rebuild the trust that currently is lacking between the end consumer and the insurer, as well as the end consumer and the agent, by giving transparency and empowering the end consumer to make those decisions with data analytics and superior user experience. The challenges that we are addressing on the macro level in the industry is that more than 75% of the customers are starting their process online, but only 25% of them end up buying insurance online. At the same time, at Insurify, almost 70% of all of our users for P&C are buying their policies online, which means that there is a massive disconnect in terms of customer experience and the way people are empowered to make the best decisions. Another key area where we are solving is that the carriers in the United States are struggling to acquire and attract the best digital consumers. And they're also struggling to be able to find the customers that are best risk appetite. And what we have built in the platform is the abilities for carriers to indefinitely scale in terms of growth by leveraging our advanced analytics and technology in terms of customer acquisition strategies.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that. So what I'm hearing is that you tackled this challenge because of a lack of trust in the industry and with consumers, and you're hoping to build in more transparency, and you're really empowering those consumers. Is that right?
Yep.
Awesome. So maybe we'll turn it over to Tatyana. So Tatyana, if you could tell us all a little bit about your journey and what challenges you and John Hancock are addressing right now.
Sure. I'll keep the journey part brief, and I'll focus on the challenges or opportunities, as I like to call them. So prior to joining Manulife, John Hancock, I had a number of roles in private equity. Would me kind of gain this experience and my footing in the startup space, and appreciate the value that partnerships bring to corporate startups and the overall industry. So I'm delighted to be in the position to parlay that experience into the work I'm doing for Manulife and John Hancock around ecosystem development and really facilitating partnerships between enterprise-ready quality startups and our businesses, all in the name of kind of addressing specific challenges and building exciting products for our end consumers. In terms of the challenges, I think the challenges are probably the same for the industry. So I look at them through the industry lens. I would highlight two trends that are in play at the moment. One, I think on the consumer expectations front, I think increasingly so, consumers are looking for and demanding this big tech experience. Something like Amazon and Apple brings to the table in terms of digital end-to-end seamless, frictionless experience that a consumer has with their products or services. So that's on one hand, and increasingly so, consumers are starting to demand and want these type of digital seamless experience in their insurance processes, either an application or underwriting or decision making. So that's one trend. The other trend, and I think this pandemic really put this trend into focus, is around the need for life insurance, right? I think all of us were all of a sudden faced with this increased likelihood of mortality and the need for having a good plan in place. So the demand for life insurance is definitely increasing. At the same time, and I think that's where the paradox is, at the same time, the industry is facing unprecedented challenges in terms of, being able to work with consumers and provide that product. Traditionally, insurance is sold through advisors and through a lot of human interactions in terms of getting the inputs necessary for underwriting decisions. So this is an interesting challenge, and I think convergence of these trends on one hand, demand for seamless, frictionless digital experiences. On the other hand, demand for life insurance and challenges associated with delivering that product. I think they're creating a unique opportunity for the industry and unique opportunity to really innovate and accelerate that transformation that the industry as a whole has embarked on prior to pandemic. And I think this moment in history really creates this galvanizing moment, galvanizing opportunity for the industry and players like John Hancock to accelerate that transformation.
That's great, thanks. Yeah, it sounds like you folks and John Hancock are really tackling some big challenges. And it sounds like COVID had some impact and continues to have impact on the life insurance industry and people wanting to actually go out and purchase that insurance, but they're looking for a better digital experience. So shifting gears a little bit, one question I do have. So earlier this week, we heard from Secretary Keneally and also Mike Fanning from Mass Mutual about the public-private partnerships. John Hancock and Insurify are sort of at opposite ends of the spectrum, where John Hancock is a larger enterprise and Insurify is essentially a startup. I'm curious your thoughts on how you built partnerships, what challenges you may have faced, and what success you've had, and maybe any learnings for our audience. So maybe Snejina, if you could start.
So partnerships are an important part of growth as well as driving excellence on the platform. And we look at the partnerships in two ways. On one hand, as a marketplace, we need to have a comprehensive set of carriers that we are representing on our website so that people have a more comprehensive comparison experience. So signing up new carriers and getting appointments from new carriers across home, car, and life, as well as all of the other verticals that we are launching, is extremely important in terms of user satisfaction. So it was, as a startup, the beginning was very slow on that front. So my biggest challenge was, how do you get the first 5 carriers to get on the platform where everybody is asking who else is on the platform? So it did take a while, and our journey starting at Insurify was a little bit unique. So rather than signing 1 or 2 partners, we ended up signing 1 partnerships with an agency that helped us bring the first 10 carriers on the platform. And after we did that, we were able to get the first and the second, and now we get more than 60 direct integrations with carrier partners. I think that this industry is very big, but the people that are the decision makers are very few, and the industry operates based on trust and accountability. So once you're proving you're building that first trust partner, then it becomes much easier to be able to expand from there, because everybody knows each other and everybody is talking to each other. On the growth partnership side, we have seen an exponential growth. So Insurify as a platform has a fully white label solution that allows us to exist across multiple technology platforms. So for example, major content sites or major digital banks or major other banks that might be interested in providing a comprehensive comparison experience to their customers are customers, current or potential customers for Insurify. And what that allows them is the opportunity to grow revenue on all of their existing partners, as well as to continue to build the existing brand that they have with their customers. So we have been very successful launching 2 of the largest digital banks in the United States, which represent 65% of market share. And we are actively working on also couple of other major car manufacturing partnerships, where car manufacturers are interested in branching into insurance. So really providing customers with a fully seamless experience from car purchase to car loan and then the insurance experience.
That's great. Yeah, it sounds like you're doing a phenomenal job building those partnerships, and it sounds like it was pretty challenging at first. Do you have any suggestions for some of the startups out there who are, just getting into the business and trying to build partnerships with larger organizations?
So my only advice is networking and build out as fast as possible network of people that you trust or that trust you. In the beginning, I was a data miner of LinkedIn. LinkedIn was my #1 friend. So I saw that opening the door with the MIT brand was significant, as well as leveraging the technology that we are using was significant in getting those first meetings. But be prepared that it will take time and you have to be patient. The #1 thing that this industry relies on is trust.
Awesome. Thank you. That's very helpful. Tatyana, I know that John Hancock has an innovation lab and you're working really hard to build partnerships with startups and generating new ideas with an incubator. I'd love to hear your perspective of how you've successfully partnered with startups and maybe any suggestions out there for other organizations.
Sure, happy to talk about that. I think partnerships are very important for the industry and incumbents in the industry. If you remember a few years ago, the industry was talking about disruption and how startups will change things and disrupt the industry. I think nowadays more so we're talking about partnerships, right? And how partnerships will help transform the industry and deliver better products for the end consumers rather than the industry disruption. So partnerships are important, and going about partnerships in a very systematic and disciplined way, I think is very important for both startups as well as the corporates. The reason we are looking to partnerships is I think partnerships specifically with startups bring this fresh perspective and bring this kind of different way of looking at industry-wide problems and frankly problems that existed for a very long time. And it's also an opportunity for us to bring this external innovation and augment already exciting things and innovations that we're working on internally. We've partnered with a broad range of players, from big tech players like Amazon and Google to startups like Human API and smaller startups in the FinTech space. We've also have strong relationships with the ecosystem players like Mass Challenge FinTech, for example, and we rely on them and work closely with them to help us really scale and augment our startup scouting capabilities with that surgical precision that helps us really find those quality startups that are very well matched with specific challenges that we're trying to address, or opportunities that we're trying to accelerate internally. I think there is a lot to be said also about the broader ecosystem development within specific regions. I'm very excited about the efforts under the FinTech Working Group umbrella for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and this effort to bring all the ecosystem players together to really cultivate a robust ecosystem in the state of Massachusetts. I think all of the players, startups and corporates included, can really benefit from this flourishing ecosystem and opportunity to connect the dots. In terms of, I think, the challenges or things to keep in mind when you embark and try to work on the partnerships for startups, I think from the corporate mindset, it's very important to recognize that partners may move at different speed, at different pace. And that's why kind of hearing Snejina talk about how they started and how they've evolved their technology and product offering is very important. And I always love hearing from startups and derive kind of lessons learned from that. Corporates move at a slower pace for good reason, right? We have policies, procedures, and protocols in place for very good reasons. Startups may move at a very different, faster pace. So really being very clear upfront and understanding kind of our different speeds of operation and really zeroing on this and having clarity around the problem that we're looking to solve and aligning incentives, I think it's very, very important, setting the right expectations right from the get-go. And also being very transparent about what it takes to work with us, having a clear onboarding plan and sharing that ahead of time, so there are no surprises or frustrations down the road. So I'll stop there, but I think those are the highlights of how we go about partnering and the key things that we keep in mind when we look and work on partnerships.
That's great. Thanks, Tatyana. So kind of shifting gears a little bit and diving into the actual technology, I understand you're both leveraging different types of technology. In terms of artificial intelligence, Tatyana, what would you say are some applications for it, both now and in the future? And how's John Hancock looking at that?
So I think the opportunity here is tremendous, and really, I think there are applications across the entire organization, starting with optimizing some of our operational processes, from workflows to claims adjudication. There's a lot of opportunities to gain efficiencies and streamline processes using AI, to applications in marketing to help us drive effective digital campaigns, to help us process documents, unstructured documents, and introduce efficiencies there, to underwriting applications to help us parse through vast amounts of data, and even help us kind of augment some of our mortality decisions and predictions. So the opportunities are vast, and really touch every part of the organization. I think life insurance industry is probably lagging in terms of the AI adoption as compared to, for example, property and casualty insurance. But the opportunities are vast, and we're actively working on kind of deploying this technology and looking for appropriate use cases that could help us augment the existing expertise within the organization and hundreds of years of experience in protection and underwriting, and also create new efficiencies in how we go about underwriting our products or creating new products. And it's really, I think, it's connected to the data that exists within the organization, the data that we cultivate, the data that we leverage in decision making, and making the best use of that data.
Great, thank you. Snejina, I know that you folks in Insurify are looking at different types of technologies. What's been working well for you, and what do you hope to use in the future?
So artificial intelligence and natural language processing have always been on the core of the way the platform was set up. And we leverage artificial intelligence in multiple different areas of the business, from customer acquisition and being able to attract customers based on their intent level and based on their probability of conversion across multiple different channels, and then running marketing as I use the word as a hedge fund. And what I mean by that is that our marketing department until recently was really only data scientists. We're running algorithms that were predicting the value of every click we buy across millions of keywords and thousands of campaigns, and setting those bids based on where the customers are coming from and what is the likelihood of bill and what these people might look like in terms of profiles. The next area that we have spent enormous amount of time is really reinventing the experience based on the intent level. And what I mean by that is that a customer that might be a higher intent, they need the absolute best list of comprehensive side with a matching of the carriers based on their specific user profiles, and providing them a list of the carriers that also have the highest probability of converting for that type of user. Another key area could be of usage of online experience. If there are very cold marketing channels, then a lot of times it may take multiple different points of getting that customer to a point where they're ready for conversion, and being aware of that, and then building out different customer experiences based on that, on the channel that you're attracting customers from, is also extremely important. In terms of leveraging artificial intelligence in the way we look at conversion optimization, monetization of the platform, as well as the servicing and enabling a better experience with our customers, I think that's an area where we continue to build on and continue to expand on. But what we will be looking at in the next year and two ahead of us is we have been obsessed about building up the absolute best converting platform that could be out there in the industry. And now our next phase or next challenge would be, how do we build a more proactive servicing or better automated servicing, really help people put their auto insurance policies on autopilot so that they can have what we call a digital wallet and they don't need to think about their insurance, but we are their trusted advisor that is working on their behalf and making them solve issues that they may have as insurance. The industry is ripe for disruption, and as Tanya mentioned in the earlier conversation, there is a lot of opportunity to see everything from autonomous vehicles and what the impact would be on the P&C insurance industry. A lot of our studies show that it could impact up to 40% with the overall industry, to building out the telematics solutions and the pay-per-mile solutions, and then building out tools that might be able to help us estimate better the accuracy and the risk from each one of these drivers, and then build that into the underwriting. So there has never been a better time to be in insurance.
That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds very exciting, and it sounds like there's a ton of opportunity. Sort of along that same vein, and really the theme of our conversation, how do you see insurance becoming more personalized? So we have sensors and Internet of Things and many new technologies. How do you see it becoming more personalized for people? And I'll direct that towards Tatyana to start.
Sure, and I'll build a little bit on what Snejina just said. I think personalization is an exciting trend within the insurance industry, and it's really, it starts with the data that we have access to and the data that we can deploy in making decisions in meeting the needs or even anticipating the needs of our customers. So data is key in how we're using this data to develop products, to develop experiences, and guide these engagements and interactions with our end consumers. It is very important to us. In terms of the new technologies, so John Hancock was one of the early adopters of behavioral insurance, and we're really made a statement in the industry with our Vitality product, which really incentivizes the end consumers for living a healthy life, really taking steps, eating healthy, exercising, and really taking care of their health. So that's, I think it's kind of turned the life insurance proposition on its head and really helped us align incentives between a company like John Hancock and also the end consumers. And we continue to build on that with the recent addition to the Vitality family of products with Aspire, which we've developed in partnership with Verily. That's a first product that's designed for Americans living with diabetes. And we continue to evolve and innovate along the lines of behavioral insurance. So technology plays an integral part in us being able to develop these technologies and really work with our consumers really on which data we can use in making underwriting decisions and which data we can use to really drive this engagement and incentivization of our customers to help them lead healthy and long lives. So we're continuing to look at the opportunities both on the product innovation side and also on the underwriting side to continue to evolve along those lines.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, it sounds as if this technology is actually helping people to live healthier lives. John Hancock is using that technology to change the underwriting process, and so that's really great. It sounds like that technology is helping people live healthier, which is awesome.
And it makes Mike, if I could just build on this quickly, and it makes owning an insurance exciting. Right? You have these ongoing engagement with the product and ongoing engagement with the company, which I think is very rare for the insurance industry. because there is a clear alignment of incentives. So you are rewarded for taking steps every day. You are rewarded for eating healthy, and there is actually an opportunity to reduce your premium, which is an added benefit of owning something like a Vitality product. So really exciting proposition, and we're very pleased by the adoption of that product in the market.
Excellent. That's great. Snejina, what are your thoughts on the personalization of insurance and where that's headed?
So I mentioned some of the areas that we are currently using in terms of personalization of the customer experience as it relates to how people experience the platform Insurify. At the same time, there is a huge opportunity in terms of building out more personalized products, specifically to P&C. Telematics is an area that has been lagging in the United States, and I think that it has a huge opportunity in terms of redefining the way pricing as it relates to at least driving behavior. Another area that we talked about is overall connected homes and connected vehicles. More and more carriers are building out partnerships with OEMs, and they're leveraging that technology to be able to use it in the underwriting criteria. So the space is ripe for disruption.
That's great. Yeah, it sounds like it's becoming more personalized, and the whole process itself is changing. Do you see underwriting eventually becoming an ongoing process, or do you think it'll continue to be really a one-time thing for both life insurance, car insurance, whatever it may be? Do you see the underwriting process being continual? Tatyana, what are your thoughts?
I think on the life insurance side, it's probably, will remain a one-time thing, just given the complexity of the life insurance product and all the regulatory aspects that we need to keep in mind, and also the sensitivity of the data that we're using in making the underwriting decisions. So all of this needs to be kind of top of mind for the life insurance industry. However, I think there are opportunities to streamline both the application process and the underwriting process through uses of data. Using electronic health records is gaining more and more traction in the industry, and leveraging these opportunities to streamline the underwriting decisions and really make this making this application process much faster, sometimes reducing the underwriting decisions from taking days or even weeks to minutes. And I think that's a very exciting development in life insurance underwriting. Important to keep in mind the differences between the life insurance industry and also the P&C, because the challenges, I think, are very different, given that life insurance relies on the health data of the individuals, and any data set being used in making those decisions has to be HIPAA compliant. So we're keeping the safety and privacy of the customers top of mind.
Absolutely. Snejina, what are your thoughts around that in terms of the process itself?
I think that the biggest obstacle in the United States is the lack of, or the interest of carriers to be able to share driving data. And that has been the biggest obstacle in terms of a more massive adoption of telematics as a product, because the only way this can work is if there is more, all carriers in terms of learning better and faster how to price different users based on their driving behavior. And as long as there is the telematics products are always leveraging only the subset of data that the carriers can use based on their own current adoption, I think that we will always struggle in making this a bigger part of our value chain as an industry.
Great, thanks. So just shifting gears a little bit, we've got a couple questions from the Q&A. One question has to do with, or we've got a couple of them, asking about how innovation and technology can actually open up new customer segments so that it's more inclusive and more accessible to people. Tatyana, what are your thoughts?
I'm sure happy to take this question. I think innovation plays a very important role in making sure the products, financial services products, not just insurance, but financial services products are available and the industry is democratized. We're spending a lot of time thinking about, the underbanked, the underserved consumer segments that, for example, don't have life insurance or don't have emergency savings or are not saving for retirement, and really thinking about how can we deploy technology to engage with these target consumer groups, if necessary, educate them on the value of, for example, owning a life insurance product or saving for retirement or starting an emergency savings account, creating an ongoing engagement with those consumer segments, and ultimately developing a product that really uses this human-centered design, which really understands the acute needs of those customer segments, so we can help address some of those, as I like to call them, hair on fire problems for those consumer segments. So absolutely, I think technology and innovation makes it easier than ever before to quickly develop products that resonate with consumer groups, conduct research to understand and identify those acute needs, and really test and iterate with different solutions that could help us attract and engage with those consumer segments. So absolutely, and the underserved, the underbanked, the underserved, underinsured is certainly a target segment that's top of mind.
Great. Excellent. So, Snejina, what are your thoughts on how technology and innovation can open up new customer segments and make it more accessible?
So platforms like Insurify are a great example of serving everybody and finding enough of opportunity or comprehensiveness from carrier presentation to be able to help every single customer on the platform to get insured. One of the things that we have been very proud of is that we have a subset of carriers that specialize in very wide range of risk profiles, and we have carriers on the platform that might be very regional and very strong in certain segments, and they are specifically specialized in serving the underbanked or the underserved, and they have made it a specialty for themselves. They have optimized their underwriting for this type of segment, and we are very proud that everybody on Insurify can get insured regardless of their background. Another segment that is similar is expats, or anybody that might be new to the country and might have no credit history. And we know that credit is a big factor in underwriting. So there is a sub highly specialized in serving that segment, giving the users the recommendation of carriers that they're good is what we have focused a lot on.
Great. Absolutely. Thanks. So we've actually gotten a few questions about this, and maybe I'll direct it towards Tatyana to start. In terms of the actual delivery model, right now, there are insurance agents, insurance brokers, there are small mom and pop shops. How do you see these marketplaces and the digital transformation impacting the actual delivery model?
Sure, Mike. Happy to take a stab at that question. I think the delivery model needs to build on the successes of the historical delivery models that existed in the industry, but also evolve given the kind of evolving consumer needs. Right. That's why, for example, for John Hancock, we have this kind of foray into the direct-to-consumer space and looking at opportunities to serve our customers digitally. But I think delivery models, as well as the products, really have to recognize the needs of the customers that we're looking to serve and adopt towards those needs. The historical kind of distribution models, for example, through the agent, worked very well for us, and will continue to have a role in a place in the industry. And while we're kind of maintaining that approach, looking for ways to augment delivery models through introduction of digital tools and selling insurance direct to consumer is the area of increased focus.
Great. Snejina, what are your thoughts? I know you've built an online marketplace. Where do you see that going in the future, and what has the impact been for Insurify?
So with a growing percentage of people being online and with a growing percentage of the users of the insurance market being a younger populations that are more digitally savvy, the importance of building digital expertise regarding of where you sit in the value chain is extremely important. The future of the insurance agents are digitally enabled insurance agents, and this will require massive transformation or potentially participating on platforms similar to Insurify that might be agent friendly and that will allow to expand on their distribution and include independent agents that are able to fulfill different policies for different user programs. But unless agents really reinvent themselves and build out those capabilities, it will be very difficult for them to sustain and to continue to grow. Surprisingly, the independent agent channel has been impressively steady in the US. So there is continuous segment of users that use and continue to like that channel. So there is a lot of value that they present. But in the future, it will be more and more challenging for these types of agents to be able to acquire new customers because more and more of them will be going online.
Absolutely.
And I think,
yeah.
Mike, just to add to what Snejina said, I think let's not forget where we are in this particular moment in time, right? And the existing traditional kind of interactions, human interactions to sell insurance are at the moment are increasingly challenging, right? So which creates this additional push for thinking about new distribution channels and new delivery models and really accelerating this drive towards digitization and looking for opportunities to serve customers and engage with customers digitally.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, you go anywhere now or you want to buy anything, it's all online. So I would imagine John Hancock is looking at different solutions around that, and it sounds like Insurify is doing that as well. In terms of the opportunities or gaps that are in the industry right now, where do you see the trends? I know we've covered a little bit, but where do you see the opportunities going forward? And I'll direct that towards Tatyana.
I think we touched on a few important things. We talked about the role of data. We talked about kind of the trend towards personalization of experiences and personalization of products, use of advanced technologies like AI, natural language processing. So those are all important trends that will have an impact on the incumbents, on the startups, and also how we interact with the customers. So that will continue to evolve, and that will continue to strengthen its impact on the industry and how we conduct business. Another trend that I am watching closely and I'm very interested in is the blurring of the lines, if you will, in the industry and industry players. You see a lot of big tech players looking to enter or entering already financial services. You're looking at Insurtech startups really expanding into different verticals and really testing out different models. You see incumbents embracing partnering and working either with big tech players or the Insurtech or FinTech startups. So there's definitely this blurring of the lines happening within the industry, which leads to more partnerships. And that's an exciting trend that we're watching and trying to understand how that will impact the industry and how that will accelerate digital transformation of the existing players and also help accelerate innovation as it relates to how we serve, engage, and acquire customers. Awesome.
Snejina, what are your thoughts in terms of the trends and opportunities going forward?
So we talked a lot about some of the trends or leveraging artificial intelligence in underwriting or in policy administration. Probably the only area we didn't cover was claims management, and claims is a major area of opportunity. There is a lot of companies that are focusing on that, and we think that that could be another key area of transformation to the carriers. And then another key area would be COVID and how COVID has impacted a lot of the carriers. A lot of the plans that insurance carriers had in the 5-year plan have now become the next few months. We have seen major carrier partners on our platform invest hundreds of millions of dollars towards digitization of their end-to-end processes and experience for the end consumers. So we think that COVID will accelerate the journey, and as bad as it is as being in a pandemic, it will bring the acceleration of digitization to the next level in a faster pace than it has ever been before.
Great, thank you. So we have a question from the audience, and going back a little bit in our conversation, what new data sets or data sources do you see there being in both auto insurance and also life insurance and any other types as well? With new technologies, what are the data sets that you're looking at now? And I'll ask Tatyana to start.
Sure. I think it's a little more tricky with life insurance. We talked about any data sets. They have to meet the stringent requirements and have to be HIPAA compliant. So we're very focused on electronic health records and seeing how that could play a role in augmenting our underwriting processes. But essentially, I think electronic health records will probably become a gold standard for the industry. In terms of other products and other aspects of the insurance industry, there are certainly opportunities to enrich profiles of potential customers through third-party data or social data, and maybe products that don't have as stringent of requirements as life insurance products. So there are definitely opportunities now to create this holistic, enriched profile of potential customer to better manage the risk, to speed up the underwriting requirements and underwriting processes. With that, as we consider additional sources of data, I think privacy, regulation, and maintaining privacy and protecting potential customers has to be top of mind. So any data set has to be vetted and really reviewed through that lens of privacy and security.
Great, thank you. Snejina, what are your thoughts on new data sets or sources for your industry?
So we look at two sets of data. One of them on the customer acquisition side. Can we enrich the customer profile with intent level with data, whether it is from social or any other third party, that will allow us to have a better, more holistic view of the customer, that will help us identify what is the right time to be able to market to that customer based on their different life-changing. The second level data would be it's to improving the customer experience. And one of the areas of focus for us has been instant quoting. We have built a patent behind that, and our goal is to augment the user experience to a point where it's really easy and smooth to be able to acquire that first-time quote, or potentially get a quote that is accurate, verified with driving history data and any other information that might be important in terms of buying insurance. That said, one of the areas that we have spent time is, are we pre-filling data for the sake of data pre-fill, or are we actually helping customer experience? And there's a lot of studies that we have done on our own side to be able to see what type of pre-fill of data improves conversion rates versus actually hurts it. Because there are some cases where showing the customer that you know almost everything about them can actually reduce their trust into the platform versus improving the conversion rates. So these are things that we always look at. We have built a very advanced experimentation platform that allows us to run hundreds of A/B tests on every session and every user, and everything that we do is through an A/B test. So pre-filled of data, artificial intelligence, or any type of algorithms that might be in place are only useful as it relates to actually improving the customer experience.
This is Mike. If I could double click on this, I think this is a really interesting theme that you're highlighting, Snejina. How do you strike this right balance between building and maintaining this trust with the consumer, and also delivering this seamless, frictionless process that may have to do with using the customer data in different ways to simplify this process. And I do like this kind of focus on trust that you have within your company, and being very purposeful and careful with the tools and technologies that you deploy to really acquire customers and maintain this engagement with customers and create this seamless process. That's definitely top of mind, and I think should be top of mind for both startups and corporate players alike.
Great, thanks. So going back to the topic of COVID and people working from home, we do have a question from the audience specifically asking how insurance might evolve with people working remotely, whether it's auto insurance, life insurance, what have you. So Snejina, what are your thoughts?
So for platforms like Insurify that are focusing on giving users savings, hard savings, living in a pandemic has been, unfortunately for everybody else, but for us has been a good news. So we have seen an exponential growth in user interest and user conversion rates since the pandemic started. We did see a drop in the first few months, almost as deep as 40% reduction into searches, but after that it has been continuous growth. That said, the pandemic will definitely accelerate, as we discussed, a lot of the ways people do businesses. And I think that carriers have to rethink how they cover home insurance policies, and whether with more people working from home, they have to consider adding up additional coverages that might be able to cover for the additional risks that might be required with more people doing their jobs at home. So I think that will be the major areas of interest. I would like to see more aggressive focus on rate reductions, because with fewer people driving on the road and more people working from home, I think that carriers will be under pressure to be able to provide additional savings to consumers. Prevention, we already discussed about digitization. So obviously that will be a continuous requirement, but that's nothing new. It's just, it has become much more urgent with the current environment.
Great, thank you. Tatyana, what are your thoughts in terms of how working from home is going to impact insurance?
Sure, I think this pandemic's really been a resiliency test for all of us, and the corporations included, and financial services industry as a whole. So we talked about experiencing an increased interest in life insurance, and this unfortunate social health event put life insurance back in focus, which I think there is a silver lining in that. More and more people are becoming aware of need for life insurance and the importance of having a plan for themselves and their loved ones. So we're definitely seeing this increased demand for the product. It's also, I think it's also this galvanizing moment for us to start thinking outside of the box in terms of how we deliver that product in times when human interactions are scarce, and it's not always possible to have this in-person, face-to-face interaction. I think this puts industry on notice and really forces us to think outside of the box. In terms of people working from home, I mean, all of us were moving less, right? We're not commuting to work. We're working from our home offices. Ironically, products like Vitality, who encourage you to live a healthy life, and in general, behavioral insurance, I think has a tremendous opportunity right now. It incentivizes customers. It reminds you to take more steps. It reminds you to take walks and do at-home exercise, and we're actually working creatively about figuring out opportunities for our consumers to exercise at home and still get rewarded for exercising at home rather than going to the gym. So I think for the industry, thinking about the products that would resonate with the end consumers and take into consideration the realities of today, and constraints and challenges that consumers face with working from home. I think that's very important, and we're very pleased with the adoption of products like John Hancock Vitality.
Interesting. Yeah, that's great. So I know we have a few minutes left. I'm curious, what you both are most excited about going into the future. We've talked about trends, we've talked about different types of technology, but what are you personally most excited about? Snejina?
So we are launching new industries. We are launching home insurance product, renters insurance product, building out pet insurance as well. And next year we'll be expanding into Medicare and Medicaid. We've seen an enormous growth over the last few months, and we have been fortunate to raise a major round last year. So we have been very excited to also get access to a lot of talented people during these very difficult times. I'm excited to see us become now one of the major platforms on the for comparison in the United States, and potentially look towards international expansion, because ironically we are also picking up volume and expanding without effort internationally in terms of traffic and searches. So that will be very exciting. In terms of generally the industry, I think that it has never been more important to focus on the right things, and being at home and being with meetings. I hope carriers do rethink their priorities and their strategies, and it's great to see the embracing how they're embracing also the work with startups and thinking through cooperation and collaboration opportunities where the major carriers can provide the data and the startups can run the data and build out the algorithms to lift everybody to the next level. So a lot of opportunities to be looking for.
Yeah, that's exciting, and congratulations on all your recent success and the expansion. Tatyana, what are your thoughts? What are you most excited about, and where are you looking towards in the future?
I'll echo Snejina's sentiment. I'm very excited about the pace of innovation in the industry and the speed of transformation. Again, silver lining in this unfortunate current situation. Sarah Biller said in one of her talks, let's not waste, a good crisis. Hopefully this unfortunate situation will lead to something good and bigger and better for the industry. So really excited about the pace of transformation. And excited about the speed with which partnerships are being formed in the industry and increased collaboration between startups like Insurify and corporates in the industry. I think there is a definitely greater good here, and we can do much more together and transform the industry that serves the evolving consumer needs.
Awesome. That's great. Really appreciate both of your time. I know we're coming up on the hour here. Just want to thank you both. Some really exciting things we've shared, and it sounds like you're both doing some really innovative things. So I want to thank you both and thank the audience as well.